Hi there, my name is Toby, and today I want to talk about the brain. Now, the brain is highly overrated. Now, hear me out. You see, it's only secondary because what controls the brain? We're all going on about the brain and how the brain controls the body, but what controls the brain? What's behind the brain? And you see, we're all distracted by trivial things. We're looking at chemical processes. We're always discovering something new about the brain. Oh, there's a new chemical here. There's a new function there. This does this and that does that. But no one's talking about what controls the brain. What's behind it? The brain is only secondary. The body is only secondary. Primary is the soul. The soul, metaphysics. But no one wants to talk about metaphysics, not even the so-called New Age movement. Even they go on and on about the brain like it's something new. There's a new supplement. This new supplement will help this little chemical process in the brain. Yeah, this is all minor details. It's minor details. What about the actual fundamental principle? What is the brain? How does it work? What's going on? And really, the question is, what is the soul-brain or the soul-body interaction? How does that work? Now, people now say there's actually 4 brains. We've got 4 brains. Most of us know the one. Some of us know 2. The second brain is your gut, your belly. Down there's another brain. The intestine, it winds up like this, the coiling of the intestine, and the cellular structure of the membrane, the intestinal wall, acts like a battery. So there's a lot of stuff going on there that's very similar to the brain. So the gut acts like another brain. But then there's a third one. The third brain is the heart itself, the physical organ, the heart. The heart cells are very similar to neurons, brain cells. So the heart itself is a third brain. But now we've also got a 4th brain. People are now saying the 4th brain is the microbiome. The microbiome, the bacteria that live in our body. These all work together. These are independent organisms working together like a complex neural network. It's a brain. And there are more bacteria in our body than there are cells. So we're not so much an individual. Our body is not so much an individual thing. It's a conglomerate, a cooperative. Millions and millions and millions of lots of little organisms all working together. So how do they work together? What's holding them all together? Well, that is the life force. The life force is an organizational force holding this all together. And that we can call the soul. This is metaphysics, it's not physics. It's not a physical thing. You can't study this under a microscope. So everyone's getting excited. We discover this new thing, that new thing in the body. And it's got, look, I've got some new chemicals. Or we make this supplement. It will help this little thing. You're missing the point. Missing the point. What is going on underneath all of this stuff? Now, I would go one step further still. It's not that we're 4 brains in the body. I would say we just got one brain. But it's one big brain, your whole body. Whole body, everything working together is like a brain. It all works together. We've just lost coherence. With coherence, everything integrates. Everything integrates. Now, let's look at what a brain does. So we all know that a brain is a computer. We all think, well, the brain is a computer, it does calculations, and then it sends electrical signals to the body. So it's doing something, it's controlling the body. Electrical signals, well, that's electricity, so the brain must be electrical because it's sending electrical signals to the body. But there's not enough electricity in the brain to power the body. So the brain can send a signal to my arm, the muscle, to make the arm work. But there's not enough, it's not sending the electricity, the power to the muscle. It's sending the signal to the muscle. But the power is coming from the belly. There's more energy in our whole body. The power comes, the electricity comes from the whole body, goes to the arm, but the brain is only sending the signal to tell the electricity to go there. So it's more than just a battery. It's more than just a battery. It has to have electricity in there. Things are moving about. But it's more than that still. The brain, I would say the brain is a receiver. It's just a receiver. more than a computer. It's a radio wave receiver. It receives information and it interprets that information. We know that because information comes in from our senses and it goes straight to the brain. The brain interprets it. But what does it interpret it for? It interprets it for our soul. What is our soul? Our soul is our own personal subjective experience. That is metaphysics. No one else can experience what I experience. That is personally mine only. It's happening to my soul in the metaphysical world. So the brain is a bridge. It is a bridge between the metaphysical and the physical. And the whole body is a bridge. The whole body is a bridge. That's what it is. And there's layers of information. We have metaphysical information. You can think of that as the thought energy itself. So we can communicate telepathically. But that is actually outside the brain. It's outside the brain. Nothing to do with the brain. There's another level of telepathy, which is the radio waves. So the brain can emit radio waves. These are electromagnetic disturbances, all different frequencies. And another person's brain could pick up these electromagnetic disturbances and interpret them. So you might call that telepathy. But it's not true telepathy. True telepathy is purely metaphysical, outside the brain. It's in the spirit world. That's how the psychics will talk to the spirits. The spirit has got no brain, so they're not emitting telepathy to you. You've got a brain, they haven't got a brain. They're non-physical entities, spirits, metaphysics, but we still can talk to them. So that's telepathy, but it's pure metaphysics. And then you've got lower than electromagnetics, which is what modern science think is telepathy. But you've got other things. You've got more obvious things, lower level frequencies, light waves. Well, I'm saying lower level frequencies. Let's say different frequency. So light waves will hit my body. They'll hit my eyes. It's a disturbance. A disturbance in the force. A disturbance in the ether. That disturbance goes into the brain, is picked up by the brain, and is interpreted by the brain, and that goes to my soul. So it's a different type of a disturbance, and it's interpreted through the eyes. Sound is another one, a lower frequency. That is vibration in the air, much, much slower. Boom, 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 boom. That's picked up by movement in the ear. The movement in the ear is translated to electricity. That goes into the brain, interpreted by the brain for my soul. It goes to my soul, so I hear the words. But my soul is the one that interprets them, understands them. My ears are hearing them. My brain is interpreting them, but it doesn't understand it. It's my soul that understands it. And no one's talking about metaphysics. Metaphysics is so simple. If you understand metaphysics, you don't really need to understand all this complex biology. You really don't. Because biology is solved by nature. We know, if we study nature, we know the things we're supposed to eat, we know the way we're supposed to exercise, what we're supposed to do, and we know the interactions between everything in the world. That's what the Taoists were, the ancient practices. They're just studying nature, but they were studying nature together with metaphysics. It was a holistic science, which we've lost now. Now what we're doing is studying mechanics. Everything is mechanics. A so-called biology, you think, well, I'm understanding life. You're not talking about life. You're looking at minute mechanics, little mechanical operations that happen in the body. And we discovered a new one. Look, I found a new chemical. Oh, what does it do? It does this. And now we can make a supplement. See, the new age people are taken by it as well. We get a new supplement that helps this new chemical in the brain that does this, that, the other. It's one tiny detail. You're lost. It's trivial. It's so trivial, it's nearly irrelevant. Because the layers of complexity are so high. The human body, the brain, there's so many layers of complexity to it. And we've discovered, maybe 100, 1,000 layers of complexity. Look, we've discovered a new one. There's a new process that happens, a new hormone, a new electrical thing. Another layer of complexity to this incredible thing that is life. But I say there should be at least a trillion layers of complexity going on. You cannot hope to understand them all, so you don't need to try. What we need to do is understand metaphysics, because metaphysics is the underlying force, knowledge, information that supplies the layers of complexity. What creates all these layers of complexity? What organizes all these layers of complexity? It's metaphysics. So we're analyzing each one. Oh, get so excited. No, I don't care about these. I mean, I listen to them. People tell me this stuff, and every now and then it's interesting. Like one of the most interesting discoveries in the brain, it has its own cleansing system. Fluid will flow through the brain. The body has a cleansing system. The lymphatic system flows through the body, and that's what I work on this channel, body efficiency exercises, is to move the lymphatic system, the blood. The brain has its own one, and they're calling it the glymphatic system. So it's another system of fluid that flows through the brain. But I already knew that. Fluid flows through the body, and I always trying to get fluid flowing through the brain, blood flowing through the brain, all different fluids. You want the fluids to move, to change. So now modern science says, oh, there's a lymphatic system. I say, oh yeah, I sort of knew that already. So it's not about these details. We don't need these minor details. We need to understand the big picture. And that's what I'm trying to talk about here on this channel. Now, so I'm saying the primary function of the brain is a receiver of electromagnetic information. Let's draw a picture, and it helps to use an analogy. So an analogy is a radio. So what have you got? You've got a radio station here, a broadcast tower, and that's broadcasting radio waves. And over here, you've got a receiver. There's a coil of wire like this with a battery, and it's and a sort of a speaker here. Let's have a speaker here. Oops, a speaker, and that gets sound coming out. But what's happening? What is happening? This is now creating a disturbance in the field, in the ether. This is creating radio waves. There's an electromagnetic disturbance, and this disturbance is picked up by this coil, and that creates a current in here, and that current is translated into movement. In here is something moving up and down. That creates sound. So, and this sound here, let's say, is music. So here's music. And then here's me listening to it. Here's someone here listening to the music. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. Now me, in my brain, listening to the music, this has gone to metaphysics. Now this is soul. It's gone all the way back. But you can see it's gone through a process. The disturbance has been interpreted in different ways. But it goes further than that. Over here you've got someone, here's someone, say, playing a guitar, and they're playing music. So here comes out some music. That music is picked up by a microphone. That microphone is gone into another thing that's turned it into electromagnetic waves. That thing has now been amplified into the tower and broadcast out. So there's here, this side is a person playing the music. And that music comes from their soul. This metaphysical information goes into the music. Music has gone into the air, disturbing the air. The air disturbs the microphone. That turns it into electrical signals that disturbs the frequency in the current. That is then amplified by another system of transformers gone into a tower. This is now so powerful that the disturbance transmits a long, long way and can be picked up by another coil. But here we've got metaphysics. This is metaphysics at the beginning. This has gone through physics, and it's gone back to metaphysics. So this is what really happens in technology, but this is exactly what happens in the body and the soul. You see, you think about it, that the soul is metaphysics. It's not physical. You can't even say where it is. I say the seat of the soul is here in the heart center, the heart chakra, the midpoint behind the sternum. But that is only a physical location. It is a locus, a focal point of my whole body. The organs, the nerves, the glands, all these things work together and focus to this point. Even the rib cage, you can see, are bones focusing to a sternum. Even the skeleton is sort of focusing to this point. But the soul itself is everywhere and nowhere. This is just the gateway to my soul, this physical location in my body. That's what it's used for. But the soul is metaphysical, it's not physical. So the soul is this metaphysical information, and it's picked up by the body, and that is what makes me alive. So when the body is the radio receiver. So you can think of it like this. The soul is the signal. The signal being broadcast. The body is the radio picking it up. So this could be the body. It's the radio that receives it, and this is the soul. Again, this is an analogy. This is only an analogy now. The soul is information broadcast from the ether. The body is picking up that information so it knows what to do. It's holding all these complex layers of complexity together. This is the information required to keep the body going. That's the life force. So when you actually die, when the body is broken, so say now the battery runs out, it needs a battery. This radio receiver needs some technology. If there's no battery here, it won't work. So now, even though the signal is coming, it can't pick it up. You can't interpret it. So when the body dies, does that mean the radio has stopped broadcasting? No, it doesn't. The signal is still there, the soul is still there, but your body can't pick it up. So now you've just got this dead body. See, this is an analogy, soul and body, metaphysics and physics. Let's look at another technology. See, the brain is a receiver. That's what I'm telling you. The brain is a receiver. But how does it work? Now, let's look at another interesting thing. At CERN, where they're smashing up particles, what they've got a particle beam. They fire particles one way and particles another way, and they have a collision. Two particles collide, and you have a collision, and particles fly off. And they detect that. The way they do it is they have a material here. They're firing these particles into the middle of this giant material. And it's a particular material that they know what it is. So when they collide the particles, energy flies off into this material, and it flies off in different ways. Sometimes it just stops, sometimes it spirals around like this, sometimes it goes straight out. And so they can look at this material now and interpret what happened in this collision. So this material is receiving these energies, different energy patterns coming into it. And they can interpret these energy patterns and then work out what was happening here, supposedly working out. But I talk about this in my other lectures. So this is exactly the brain. The brain is a large material like this. And all different energies are coming in and hitting it. And they're interacting with the brain in different ways. Some are spiraling like that. Some might just pass through. Some hit it and stop. So the brain is exactly the same thing that's going on in CERN. Let's draw a picture of the brain now. Let's draw a picture of the brain. So here's the brain. Yeah, so here's my head. There's the eye. So he's a funny guy. And the brain connects to the spinal cord. See, the brain connects to the bones. These all things are connected together. This is like the complex technology of a radio. The radio needs all these bits and bobs in order to receive the signal. This brain part is the area that receives the signal. Then all these other bits and bobs are the battery, the method of interpreting the signal. But the whole thing works together. Now, so the brain receives information directly. And information will hit it and move about in different ways. The brain will also receive information indirectly. It will come through, say, the eyes. And the eyes will then come through a nerve. And then that information will come in through there. And it will receive information from the spinal cord. It will come in through there. So it's getting information internally. All right? And more interesting enough, it will get information from the cosmos, the ether, the metaphysical world. That will still come in. Now, where does that come in? Well, in the middle of the brain, you've got an area. And in that area, you've got the thalamus, hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the pineal gland. Now, when I studied Taoist philosophy, Mantak Chia is a famous Taoist master. He calls this the crystal palace. But of course, the crystal palace, and I've heard another school of thought, connects to the spine as well, this whole thing. It's like the deep innermost part of the brain is a crystal. That's what I'm saying. And inside that, and people now know that the pineal gland, inside there are little crystals, crystalline substance. And if we have, and now we have a lot of toxins in the environment, and they calcify this. They reduce they muddy up this crystal. We want this crystal to be clean. All those crystals aligned, because what is a crystal? This is a radio receiver. It receives information. And the old radios used to have a little crystal. That's how they used to work. The crystal will receive very high, detailed frequencies, information. So the crystal here in the middle of the brain is going to receive very high level frequency information. And that information then also filters out to the rest of the brain. But you see, the brain here is still just a receiver. Where is the soul? Where is the soul that is interpreting it? Well, the soul is down here in the heart. Well, let's draw the heart here. So the soul is in the heart here. So the information goes in and out of the heart. But the heart is another brain. As I was saying, the heart is another brain. We've got 4 brains. So this will also be another receiver. It will receive information directly. This is receiving emotional information. This is how we have heartfelt connections. It's a different type of telepathy, interacting with feeling. You see, so as I was saying, there's different types of telepathy. There's one that goes directly through the ether, metaphysical. That's instantaneous. That's not even radio waves. There's another one. You see, the brain is a broadcaster. This whole thing has got energy to it. So when I think about something, it's also broadcasting. It's creating vibrations. The brain is vibrating electromagnetically, and these vibrations are passing out. So we can now have a very sensitive computer that can pick up these radio waves that the brain is emitting and interpret them. So we now think, a computer can read our mind. Well, it can't read our mind. It can only read these emitted radio waves, these electromagnetic frequencies. It can't read the metaphysics. It cannot read the soul. You'll never get that. You'll never get that. You'll always be able to beat this. You'll always be able to beat this. You can experiment with this. In Harry Potter, if you watch Harry Potter, in one of the last films, I can't remember which one, but Harry Potter was having a study with Professor Snape, who was the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, because he had to learn how to protect his mind, because the great evil one, Voldemort, would attack his mind, get inside his head. That's computer. That's what they were scared about now as well. You build a computer, then get inside my mind and control me. So that's what Voldemort was doing. He's going to get into your mind and control you. And he had to train himself to keep his mind independent from his own mind. Put it this way. You need to find a separation between your brain and your soul. Your soul is pure metaphysics. Your brain is not. So I can have a particular awareness in my soul, but think about something different. A very advanced thing to practice, and I urge you to have a go. Experiment with this. Try and think about a subject like your brain is emitting brainwaves. You're trying to trick a computer. The computer's trying to read your mind, so you want to give them an image that they'll pick up. But at the same time, you know really deep down what you're doing. You're trying to deceive the computer. That means in the metaphysical world, in your soul, you're focusing on one thing, but in the brain, which is still physical, you're creating electromagnetic disturbances that can be picked up by the computer. You'll be able to do it. Just experiment, because can't prove it. A difficult experiment to prove. Difficult one to prove. But the point being is the brain is a receiver. And the whole body is a receiver. The brain connects to the bones. The bones are also crystal. All the bones are connected from the spine. And the spine is hollow. In the middle of the spine is fluid. And this fluid goes into the brain. So there's an exchange of fluid between the bones and the brain. And this is the deepest level of the internal training. In Qigong, they call this bone marrow brain cleansing Qi. You're moving the fluid deep in the bones to the brain. You're cleansing it. Always changing it. You see, so the brain is not so much about thinking something over and over and over. It's about cleansing, moving the fluid, because you want this area to be nice and clear. You want this area to be clear, not filled up with junk. Why do I want it to be clear? Because it's a receiver. I want to be able to receive, and in the middle I want this crystal, perfect crystalline receiver. So that's why we sleep at night. Why do we sleep at night? Why do we fall asleep? Our brain is tired. It's clogged up too much. The electrical signals are all jammed up. I've got to go to sleep. Now it's like rebooting your computer. Turn it off, restart, jing, and then it starts up. You wake up in the morning, oh, where am I? What's going on? All right, enter the password. Okay, now I'll start. But if we can learn how to refresh our brain, understanding what it is, we can keep this going. We won't be tired so much. And in fact, very high level masters, they don't even need to sleep. Sleeping and waking is the same. When you go to sleep, you're going deep internally into this crystal, entering into the metaphysical world. You're traveling. And when you're awake, you're still having a clear brain. Your brain is still receiving information from spirit. The idea is to keep this clean, keep this empty, so that you can receive information. In particular, you want the information from the cosmos, the infinite, the ether, the pure highest source of information, mathematics itself, the source code of heaven, something like that. The universal force, chi, and then that will filter down through your whole body. And it's the same here, it filters down to your heart. Same thing with your heart. Your heart wants to be clear, balanced, open. You see? So what happens in our heart is clogged up with pain and suffering, and all different emotions are in there. So the process of exercise is to try and digest all these emotions, clear out the heart. The heart should be clear so that it can receive. It can receive and transmit. Transmit a clear signal from you, your soul. The metaphysical aspect of yourself. So this is a little introduction to the brain. It's not what we think it is. So I don't get too excited when everyone goes on about, oh, I discovered this in the brain, that in the brain. Yeah. What about metaphysics? What about the soul? So you can't hope to understand all the little things going on in here. Trillions of little things going on. That's why you can't create a brain. You can't build a computer to do this. And again, another way to look at this is ever so simple. The brain is 90% cholesterol. It's just fat cells. This is a great big lump of fat. That's all it is. Like I said, it's a receiver, a substance that energy can hit, and it will be absorbed by that substance. So people tell you now, oh, well, cholesterol is bad. Yeah, no, you need it. Your brain is cholesterol, 90% fat cells, but you need good, high-quality, animal-based cholesterol. You can't have seed oils, vegetable oils. These things are not right. They're not good enough. You'll clog up the brain. You need the proper ones. So again, I'm sorry, vegetarians and vegans. And I spent my early life as a vegetarian, pure vegetarian. So it was difficult for me to understand the animal need to eat the animal products. But I talk about this in one of my lectures, and I'll leave the links below about that. There is a deeper reason why we need to eat meat. And we need to get over the hang-ups of life and death. It's not so much about life and death, it's more about pain and suffering, or pain and pleasure. Anyway, the point being is, if you don't have cholesterol, you're going to starve your brain, and that's the beginning of the end. That's why we've got all these sort of degenerative diseases, dementia and Alzheimer's. The brain is just starving away. You haven't fed it enough. It hasn't got enough nutrients to have a material here. So we want to keep moving the brain, doing exercises, breathing, or circulate the energy. There's a circulation of energy that goes around. And also moving the neck, so expanding and contracting the brain. You gut the jaw like this, you'll feel it. You're expanding, contracting the brain, working the facial muscles. You're getting the blood pumping up here. You're getting the lymphatic system pumping up here. So you want this energy flow. And now you've got the glymphatic system moving around here. So this keeps the brain cleansed, fresh. And learn how to find a state of relaxation. So you remember, if the brain is a receiver and you've got a problem, you're thinking about the problem. How does it work? You can't find the solution. You're going round and round and round and round and round and round. No, stop that. Stop that. Open up. Relax. The solution is there. You allow it to come to you. So these are the ways we use the brain. Totally different to what most people say. And that's what I talk about on this channel. I'm trying to share a very different model of the universe. It's ever so simple. It's just physics and metaphysics. There's only two things involved. And we, as living souls, are the bridge. Our soul, the living soul, is a bridge between metaphysics and physics. There's an interaction between these two things. And what I'm explaining on this channel is how that interaction works. There are details to it. Here, this is a detailed picture. But I'm trying to show you here, I'm trying to explain 1 trillion layers of complexity. And all I've done is really showed you 4 or 5 layers of complexity, but these are quite big layers. When you listen to a modern scientist, they're telling you, oh, there's one chemical like this, and it connects to another chemical like this. And it's like, oh, that's so minute, this is trivial. I need the big picture. We need to understand the big picture so we can get on with our training. So I hope this made sense. Please do leave any comments or questions below. I will talk more and more about the brain in time. Because it is a big deal, but it's not that much of a big deal. It's overrated. And again, there are people that have got perfect health and they've only got a tiny little brain. You don't even need a big brain. There's evidence of this. Because it's not the brain, it's the soul. It's metaphysics. And metaphysics is the thing that organizes physics. This whole thing is an organization. Metaphysics is the information required to organize it, and the soul is the focal point of that information that organizes this physics. And modern science is just studying the mechanics. That's only one side of the picture. It's trivial, childish. We need the big picture, metaphysics. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in any of these other videos here.